shining bright lotus.
Well, last week, Emio did a nice job of teeing up the ego. So she talked about the, what was it, disaster and dignity, and I would add the comedy of the ego. And it's not a thing, it's a construct of mind. It's a stack of beliefs and stories and memories that we tell ourselves over and over. It evolves over time, so it's really more of a process than a thing. That's really important to get. I see Zen as an ego disidentification process. We're not getting rid of the ego, but we're right sizing it. So it's not running the show. Something deeper is running the show, which ideally is the truth of who you are. Is everybody good with that so far? That's a really key concept. Yeah, okay. It's not in the general culture, so I'm not always sure where everybody is in their understanding of Zen Buddhism. So let's start with when the Buddha needs therapy. So who is the Buddha? Who's the Buddha? Okay. Thank you, Eric. Yes, thank you, Joe. This is the whole point, right? So we need to get this. You are the Buddha. Francesca, you are the Buddha. Pamela, you are the Buddha. Eric, you are the Buddha. Emil, you're the Buddha. Joe, you're the Buddha. Joe, you're the Buddha. Michael, you're the Buddha. Jean, you're the Buddha. Connor, you're the Buddha. Nanda, you're the Buddha. Kaiju and Marianne, you are Buddhas. Mingpo, you are the Buddha. And just notice how you felt when you heard your name called and named a Buddha. Did you have resistance? Some sort of what's this guy doing? Wait a minute. So let's go a little deeper yet with this. And so Nanda, I'm going to ask for a bell. And when Nanda rings the bell, what I invite you to do is just say to yourself, I am a Buddha. Kind of take ownership and just notice what happens. Okay. So say, I am a Buddha, and just notice. Okay. So Nanda, if you would give us a bell and then say, each of you say, I am a Buddha. Okay. Go ahead, Nanda. You're on mute, so can't hear it yet. Yeah. There you go.
I am
Okay, so how did that go for you? Go ahead, just share if you have something to share.
Relaxation, settled.
Relaxed and settled. Anyone else?
Yeah, I felt relaxed, like a bell. I felt like a bell. Like I just spread out and relaxed.
Lovely. That's why the bells are so cool, aren't they? Yeah, Pamela.
Well, peace, but also centered.
Cool. Yeah, Emil.
Well, decompression and a deep breath, and then a strange feeling in my belly, and I switched it up to Buddha is. I had a hard time with the I am the Buddha, and then I relaxed even more.
Wonderful. Cool. Connor.
Yeah, I felt some the desire to cry out of relief.
You got me. Eric.
I felt warmer and lighter.
Yeah. So at one level, yeah. Anybody else? What do you have?
It feels
Oh,
spacious. It feels spacious and soothing.
Spaciousness. Okay, thank you. Is it Jean? Yeah, thank you, Jean. Anyone else?
I felt
I felt
gratitude.
I felt an exhale of kind of relief, like something obtainable.
Yeah. Anyone else? Are we? Yeah, Minquo?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I took a different approach. I went, yes, I am.
And how did that feel? What did you notice? That's what I'm going for.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yes, yes. I felt just grounded and
Yeah.
present.
Cool.
Okay,
so just
I felt a sense of gratitude for being able to access a bigger sense of spaciousness,
yeah,
and got an image of the man who so long ago sat under a tree until he saw through all this shit. It was like, oh wow, gratitude for that. Like I can
Mm.
I can taste this now. So beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you, Joho. Well, I think we're complete for today, Mingpo. This was really good. So I just really want you to all just take a breath and get what you're getting. Everything said was beautiful. Everything I can feel was true for you. Nothing forced. And I didn't hear much ego. The ego is out of the way. So this is the practice. And if this works for you, make it part of your practice. Every morning, ring a bell or look in the mirror, say, I am the Buddha. Claim it. Claim this deepest truth of who you are. So I want to share a few amazing things and a treasure hunt. That's what I'm out to do today. And you just touched the first amazing thing, which is you're already an awakened being. Nothing needs to be added. It needs to be corrected. It's already here. It can't not be here. All it's missing is our realization. And what's in the way of realization? The ego, right? The stories, the emotional patterns, the conditioning, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. That's what's in the way. But when it drops away, it's easy. This practice isn't hard. It's effortless. It's already who you are. So that's the first amazing thing to me. Why didn't anyone tell me this a long time ago? Right? Why isn't this like one of the most basic things we teach ourselves in the world? And it's not like it hasn't been going on. As Joho mentioned, the Buddha sat under a tree 2,500 years ago. And the Buddha says he was the first, or was one among many Buddhas. So there are Buddhas before him. We know that shamanic practices go back 10, 20,000 years. This is not new. And all the mainline religions have their awakening practices. In the Jewish tradition, there's the Kabbalah. And in Islam, there's the Sufis, the whirling dervishes. And in the Christian tradition, there's contemplative prayer and the Desert Fathers and the Gnostics. Very beautifully well thought out over centuries practices of awakening. But, pushed to the side. They're marginalized. So that even now, but on the street and ask 10 people, are you the Buddha? They'll always ask, what are you talking about? They're already Buddhas, 7.5 billion people, all Buddhas. It's already here, all right now. So if that's true, why would we need therapy, right? Well, that's the second amazing thing. So these ancient waking up traditions, all beautiful, but I think Zen is perhaps the most profound because it's so direct, so focused on the experiential, and that resonates for me. It's not enough. So you awaken, but there's still all this emotional material and trauma and shadows, and that is new. Those ancients didn't have any idea about that stuff. This is all in the last 100 years. We've had Carl Jung and depth psychology and neuroscience and brain chemistry. We've learned so much about the interior of our experience, and we can work with it now. And one of those ways of working is psychotherapy. And the way Junpo saw this was he was in Daibusatsu for 6 years. He was the vice abbot ultimately, and he was awakened. And he looked around at the other awakened monks and he saw assholes. Like, these guys are assholes. He looked in the mirror and goes, I'm an asshole. So there's something incomplete here, right? So awakening is absolutely fundamental, absolutely essential, but it's not sufficient, particularly for our modern complex condition as human beings. So I give credit to Junpo. When he became ordained a Roshi, he went to Colorado and did psychotherapy. He did shadow work. He knew he had something he had to get after. They could tell that meditation doesn't touch it. I find that just fascinating. So you can meditate so deeply, but it will not touch the shadow. The shadow is a blind spot, right? It's behind us. We can't see it. We can't do it alone. It doesn't work that way. So I'm remembering I was at a retreat in Colorado with Doshin, and my son, Tenryu, went out in the middle of the circle. So Doshin's doing sort of public dokusan. So you sit in front of the Roshi and ask your question in front of the whole group. So it's a little bit nerve rattling. Tenryu popped out there. He said, what is a shadow? And Doshin gave this long, elegant answer. And Tenryu just sort of thought for a minute. He goes, so a shadow's the me I can't see. Doshin said, yes, that's it. He laughed and I said, that's much better than what I said. Shadow's the me I can't see. So if you think you can do your own shadow work by yourself, you are totally wrong. There's a blind spot right there. Totally deluded. So let's leave it there for a moment. But that's, I call that whole area healing. So to fully awaken, to be fully whole, we need to have these awakening practices, but we also need to heal the traumas and the shadows. And that requires community and teachers and perhaps psychotherapy. That can be very effective. I do want to throw one more element in because it doesn't get discussed that I also find fascinating. We also awaken through the body. In the world I grew up in, I was completely disconnected from my body. My body was an it. When I got sick, we threw medicines at it, hoped it got better. And I didn't realize it. I was just totally disconnected. I didn't even know there was another option. So when we started doing Qigong with Zen, I was like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I do have a body. Look at this. It's moving and I'm breathing. It's all integrated. And I've been working with Kogan, who wrote the book, but he's also a Kung Fu master on deeper embodiment practice. Of course, the breath and the body are not two, right? No body, no breath. They move together. And the body's always now, and the body never lies. The body's always now, and the body never lies. So if you're feeling distracted or confused or kind of wondering what state you're in, go into the body. Just notice your feet, and you'll be grounded instantly in the present moment. That's why we focus on the breath in our practice. The breath's always now. The breath's part of the body, and the body's always now. So I'll leave that for another topic. It would be cool to have Kogan give us a whole training on that. But so we awaken through, call up the mind. We awaken through the heart, which is this healing work that we do on the wounded parts. and we awaken through the body. It's not a one thing deal. But if you read the old text, that was definitely the idea is if you had an awakening experience and you transcended samsara, that was the home run. You got it. No awareness of these other avenues of awakening. And in the first turning, the Hinayana tradition, they were called arhats. And the arhats would go up in the caves and bliss out and leave samsara behind. And in the second turning, Nagarjuna came along and said, that is totally dualistic. Nirvana and samsara are not two. The same sides, two sides of the same coin. And that's where Kogan in the book says we awaken through life, not around it. And yet, in Junpo's time, he saw where in Zen, they did not know what to do with emotions. And you're an asshole, so you tried to shove it under the bench or lock it in a closet. Emotional. And this still comes out. It comes out even worse, comes out sideways. We all know terrible stories of teachers abusing their students. Well, that's it. Right? There's no technology to work with what we now call shadow and trauma and attachment issues. But now there is. It's so exciting that we're part of this evolution in spiritual practice. So how are we doing so far? Does that all make sense? Okay. I know I get fired up, but I don't always know where everybody else is with their life experience. So let's look at the 4-point plan or layout that Kogan puts into the book. So he says, now that you've accepted the possibility that you're a highly conditioned being and full of shadow, first step is to be conscious of that. So just let that in. And I just want to mention how conditioned we are briefly. I remember Jupo just whacking us with this. You are wholly conditioned beings. You're like that close to being a robot. Right? We're 99.9% robots, and we don't even know it. I'd be like, oh, come on, he's just overstating it. Trying to make a point. That's Jupo. But as time's gone on, I'm like, you know what? I don't think he was exaggerating. We are so conditioned. So let's just back up and think about it. So in terms of nature, your DNA is half your mom and half your dad. Scientific facts. You're not even you. You're half your mom and half your dad genetically. You're not even in the picture at that point, right? And then in terms of nurture, you're just inundated. Little baby, you have no defenses. So all these values and assumptions and worldviews and thoughts and belief systems are just pouring in. And it starts, of course, with the parents or the caretakers, and then there's siblings and relatives, and then neighbors, and then school. It gets institutionalized into the culture. And then, of course, with social media, it's got to be worse than any time in human history for this deeply conditioning process that we're swimming in. And as childhood, just completely undefended, totally unfair situation. And then we get older and we get upset, right? We go, things don't feel right, or I don't like the way this goes, or I don't feel aligned in my being, or right? So those are gifts, and they begin the treasure hunt. So let's talk about the treasure hunt. So when I went through the Mando process, I was turned on. I was like, wow, this is dynamite. So Junpo saw the need to have the Mando ego deconstruction, reconstruction, koan process, right? There's that ego disidentification. We're not getting rid of it. We're just going to re-educate it. And the first koans are insight koans. So you could touch and taste the deepest truth of who you are. That's awakening, right? Once you get that taste, Junpo could trust that you're going to get on the path. And you see people with their rakusus on, their stream enters, they're in. And then on the path of awakening. And then the second set of koans are emotional koans. And that was his attempt to deal with this emotional reactivity. And they're brilliant, and they're a start. And as we go along, we realize this is so much here, so much possibility. So what I did is when I got triggered, I would have sticky notes. And I write on my post-it note, the little trigger, just so I can remember the moment, and then put it on my desk or on my computer at home or in my car. The first thing I noticed is I was filling up these places with post-it notes. I had no clue how reactive I was. That conditioning's so conditioned, I can't see it, right? That's why we call it shadow. I was reacting to everything. And sometimes pretty subtle, like, I like that ice cream. I really wanted more. Just to notice that. Oh, okay, that's ego, right? That's desire. Yeah. And of course, somebody cuts you off in traffic. Okay, well, there we go. Somebody doesn't call me back. What's wrong with these people? Can't find a file. What am I paying you for? It's just all day. Okay, post-it note, post-it note. So now I'm starting to see my reactivity, right? That's one of the first things that happens with Zen. We develop witnessing mind. We can witness our own ego in action. So now I got all these post-it notes. And I have groups and people I can work with to burrow in, so what was going on there? And the Mondo process was so helpful. So I grew to think of this as more like, this is my life map. Every post-it note was an X for buried treasure. And I was filling my life map with X's, drill here or dig here for gold. There's gold in them are post-it notes, right? And that just was so helpful because there's a big part of me to resist this process, right? I have to admit I'm a jerk. I have to look at myself as an asshole. I have to look at the way I don't treat my wife with respect. I gotta, look at these messy, dark things I'd rather admit aren't there. Yeah, that's where the gold is. That's how you get out of this. That's how you heal and awaken. So that's my invitation. Just flip the whole paradigm. You can't wait to find your next reactivity. So you can put another X on the map and find some more gold and deepen your healing. So the Zen move, I really got this on my first retreat, is we need to turn in. We need to turn in. So I'd never really meditated at all before. So I did a 7-day retreat with Junpo in fall of 2008. I was in agony. My back hurt, my knees hurt, my neck hurt. I never knew how to sit on the floor. So I go to Junpo and said, I don't know about this. And he promised me, he said, you stick with it. By day 4 or 5, you'll find out what we're talking about. And that did it for me. I'm like, okay, I'm going to find out. And if it's not there, boy, he's going to hear about it, right? And sure enough, day 4 or 5, my whole body was vibrating. Teeth were buzzing. The food tasted great. And it's the same oatmeal I'd had every day, right? Colors were brighter. And I could just see like, okay, the things around me really haven't changed. This has changed, right? My whole experience of life has become alive. And I'm like, okay, I'm hooked. But it wasn't until the last sit on the last day I got, my entire life has been turning away from the present moment. An emotional art, but yeah, that was I think it's a really common insight, but for me, it landed very deeply. The slightest inconvenience, the slightest discomfort, you could pick up a phone and read a book or turn on the TV or go talk to somebody instead of staying with the uncomfortable moment. So that became a real koan for me, is to turn in. And the more uncomfortable, the more powerful the turning in can be. And if you're not ready for it, that's okay too. Just know it's there. X on the map. I'm going to wait till I got time with Mingpo or Ikai. Then I'll bring it up because I need some support. It's a perfectly intelligent way to proceed. And then finally, get to the end of the koan, Mondo koan process is to remember and choose. Remember and choose. So it's kind of a fierce warrior energy. I will not have it any other way. It's been a mess up to now. From this point on, I remember and choose. I remember the truth of who I am. I am a Buddha. And then I choose how I respond to life, which is always with compassion, wisdom, clarity. And that becomes the practice.
Shining bright lotus.